So we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the newly formed Sports Guys Detroit. My name's Matt, and I have Noah here with me. How's it going, Noah?
Good.
And we're going to try the podcasting thing. We are big Detroit Lions fans, big Detroit fans, and we're just going to kind of give this a shot and see how it goes. I've dabbled with podcasting a little bit before in the past with some video game stuff. Noah's done some Twitch and YouTube stuff in the past. And,
A
little bit. So, but we're just going to give this a shot, and we're going to talk about some Detroit Lions stuff. We are season ticket holders, and we went to recently. We went to a practice down there, which was
what was it? Family.
Yeah, it was like a family day down there that we went to. So it was pretty cool, and we'll get to number 2 there in a second because I skipped over it, but that's all right. Yeah, just kind of wanted to talk about the practice. You know, it's hard to get a really good feel for how the team is doing right now, I think, because when you watch a practice, you don't know exactly what the coach is looking for, what he's trying to do. And when you're watching a third string play a second string, like I was even saying when we were there, I wasn't sure who to root for. If the defense did good, I was like, oh, man, that sucks. The offense didn't do good, or the other way around. You know what I mean? So I wasn't quite sure.
This is at the training camp, not at
What's that? Oh, that was – yeah, well, same thing. Training camp practice.
It was the training camp.
I wasn't talking about the preseason. I was just talking about the practice, yeah. But, yeah, so when we're playing against ourselves and we have we're going against each other like that, our own different strings and stuff, it's hard to decide –
who to root for.
Yeah, or what's going on, what's going well, what's not going well.
I just always root for the people who are closest to starting.
Fair enough. I guess if your third string beats out the second string, that's probably not good for the second string. So
yeah.
Probably the higher guys should always do better on there. But so we had a good time there, though. They some of the guys were signing some footballs and tossing them out to the crowd, and Fox was punting them, and they were going way over our heads out in the back. But did you got that football here? Where's that at?
Yeah,
go grab it real quick. So Noah got Jared Goff. I'm sure most of you know, but is the now quarterback. Yeah, that looks. Yeah, let me see. I'll hold it up a little closer.
Yeah.
So
I can't really reach that far.
So if you happen to be listening to this on the podcast, hey, it's good to see you there, Rivethead. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. But if you happen to be listening to the podcast, this is on Twitch, and we'll eventually get it on YouTube. But he got an autographed football here of Jared Goff. So he signed it and threw it, and Noah managed to get the ball. We almost
pick it up off the ground.
Well, that's all right. You had to run a ways to get it. But we almost got it. Who was it? Panay Sewell was the other one that
Panay Sewell and Frank Ragnow both threw one into the stands that were near us.
Mm-hmm. So, but it was really cool. It was a good time, and
they threw a lot of those footballs into the stands.
What'd you say, like 30 or 40 apiece? I mean, they were there for a while, signing them and throwing them out.
I would say like 20 per person.
Okay, yeah.
And then Jack Fox got them off a bit quicker.
Yeah. But that was pretty cool. It's pretty neat to
That'd be pretty awesome to be someone like sitting at the back and thinking you wouldn't get one of those, and then Jack Fox punts one straight to you.
Yeah, that would be cool. Sitting of course, there was no one in the upper deck, but he could have gotten him up there if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so it was a good time. We enjoyed it. It was kind of nice to get with COVID and everything else, because we didn't go to any Lions games last year. We just weren't able to do that. Had to watch them all on TV, and so we were pretty excited to get down to Ford Field again and go check it out.
Before we say too much, we probably should mention that we're big on the Detroit Lions this year.
That is very true. But it's kind of neat to get out and to start checking out the team again, seeing how they're doing. It's a lot different not having Matt Stafford here anymore. So we'll kind of talk about that real quick. A lot of people, I'm not going to lie, and you know this, Noah, and Eisen knows this as well, but I had a minor panic attack when we lost Matt Stafford. I felt it deeply. I was very sad about that. But
any Lions fan would be.
Yeah, but I'm glad that there's a few things about this. One, I'm hopeful for Stafford. I understand him not wanting to go through another rebuild. and I hope the Rams win every game except when they play the Lions this year. So I hope that he does very well, and I hope he gets that the Super Bowl that he deserves, that Super Bowl ring that he deserves. So,
Okay.
But is there anything you wanted to say on that, or?
Just that Stafford would make the Hall of Fame if he had an MVP season or a Super Bowl ring.
Mm-hmm.
He had 5,000 yards passing when he was on the Lions.
Yep.
So
I'm excited about it. I'm excited for him to go there and to start. Let me adjust this just a little bit there. It's kind of starting to fall. I'll have to secure that better. But anyways, I'm excited for him, to go and get a chance because he's getting up there in years and probably is not going to survive another Detroit Lions rebuild. And I am optimistically hopeful about Jared Goff. A lot of people are kind of talking smack about him a little bit, and
not necessarily smack, but like they don't necessarily like him. He's just an average quarterback, and we're gonna go out and get a better one soon.
Right, but I think there's a chance that he could be a long-term solution for us, and we'll have to wait and see how he does these. This season especially, but if he sticks around after this season, to see how he does. He's not a bad quarterback. He clearly can play. He can get to the Super Bowl. And we just got a comment here. Says, I like Stafford, but the Rams need to lose more games for a better Lions draft pick. And I do. That is a very good point.
Either way works well. So.
Well, we'll assume he's going to be there for 2 years. And since we get, how many first rounds did we get just this coming year?
We got their next 2 years of first rounds.
Okay, so maybe the next 2 years they can tank and they can really get their stuff together the third year so we can get our draft picks and Stafford can still get that Super Bowl ring. So
Stafford's going to be off the team by the time the third year comes around.
Yeah, if we get an overall first round out of them, probably he will be. But yeah, he just said there you go. He likes that idea. But so yeah, but anyways, so I was sad to hear that he left, but we definitely got a good deal out of it. The Rams obviously were only looking for the short term, but I think
people are saying that like the Lions won that deal, but nobody both sides won the deal. I was gonna say nobody really won it, but both sides won that deal. They got what they wanted and they got what they needed for short term. It's just the Rams haven't had a first round draft pick since Jared Goff himself,
right?
And that would be 2017 to 2023 without a Rams first-round draft pick. So,
But, yeah, they were clearly just going for short-term and want to go out and get that Super Bowl ring. So I understand that. And for us, it's a very good long-term decision. Hopefully we can find a way to make Goff work. But if we can't, then, that's okay because we're going to have plenty of opportunities to pick up another quarterback. But, so anyways, I don't know. That's about all I had on that. But let's see. Being back to football, and then so you want to talk about the preseason game?
I kind of want to talk about our draft picks.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Just in general, it's just real quick. But who are you specifically? Who are your favorite picks of the draft?
I was happy about Penei Sewell.
Who wouldn't be?
Yeah, and Amon-Ra. How do you pronounce his name?
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Because I've heard Amon-Ra too.
I've heard both as well.
Okay.
I'd say Amon-Ra though.
Okay, so either Amon-Ra or Amon-Ra. We'll probably end up saying it wrong until we get it figured out later. But I like St. Brown. We picked him up in the fourth round there.
Fourth round.
But mostly about Penei Sewell because I think that means that we're making the right decisions moving forward in the draft by working on the offensive line, which is something that
especially considering that when Jared Goff went from a Super Bowl quarterback down to a terrible year, he had one of the best offensive lines in a Super Bowl year, and then the next year that went from, 5th ranked down to 31st ranked in the league for offensive line.
Was it that far down?
It was pretty bad, and he just had a terrible year the year after the Super Bowl, so he might just need an offensive line and time for plays to develop to be able to march the ball downfield.
Well, and they say he's a good play-action quarterback. So, yeah. No, I agree. I think all of that I think those are all good points on that. So
Amon-Ra St. Brown, I liked him a lot when we drafted him, and he's a deep threat receiver. He's quite physical. He's one person who would jump up for the ball. But when I personally looked at his highlights, I saw Travis Kelce. I don't know if you know him. You're big on the Lions, not necessarily on the other NFL. But Travis Kelce is a tight end on the Chiefs who would just, when a play would break down, he would be able to get open. He'd be able to find an open hole in zone defense or something like that, and he'd be able to find that and get open for his quarterback. And that's something that I personally saw in St. Brown a lot when watching his college highlights.
We got a couple of comments on here. One of them is from Matt from the Thaco Gamers on there. It says that younger version of you is way more knowledgeable, and I agree. You are way more knowledgeable. I've learned a lot from you and your brother about football these last few years as you guys have gotten to my level and then quickly surpassed me.
Goes him, my brother, and then me, and then you, and then I don't know from there.
What's that? For football
For
knowledge? Did you put you at the top?
No, I put him, my brother, and then me, and then you.
Oh, okay.
I would not put myself at the top of that list.
Oh, well, if you're listening out there, Ike, he just gave you more football knowledge props than himself. So
I would say I'm bigger on the Detroit Lions knowledge than him, though.
Okay, we'll have to challenge him to that when he gets back.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
So we got. Did you want to talk more about the draft picks?
The only other two I'd want to talk about was Derek Barnes, but we can talk about him with the preseason game because he was injured and wasn't playing for a lot of practices. But Jamar Jefferson as well. I really liked that draft pick. It was the last pick of the draft was it pick 256 or something like that. But he was a running back. I don't know what college he came from, but he is an elusive running back who the only big game you could think of off the top of my head would be he had like 250 yards rushing in one of his games and 2 touchdowns, I think it was. But he played amazingly in that game, and I think that just shows what he could be for Detroit if DeAndre Swift or Jamal Williams weren't to work out.
Right. That's a good observation there, and it was a good pickup at the end
of the entire draft.
Yeah, at the end of the entire draft. So, no, I agree with that. Moving on here. So we got a comment on here. It says, did you catch the preseason game, and what did you think about Campbell's late game decisions? And we're actually going to get to that. That's something we had.
Yeah, we had that as a talking point for this, but that's probably going to be later. We're probably going to go through Goff and then third downs and stuff like that. Just big, important pivotal moments of the game.
Yeah, things that we noticed from there at least. So in talking about that, one of the first notes I have on here was Kevin Strong. So do you want to go on that there?
You don't know what he did. But Kevin Strong, he had a pretty strong performance, to say the least.
Yeah.
Been waiting to say that one. I'm sure a lot of people have said that already, I guess. But he had 6 tackles, and that really was it from him. But those tackles were pretty important ones, with a lot of them being on a third down run or a second and long run where he got a big tackle to prevent a big gain or to prevent a first down when otherwise it would have been. So he had a good performance, and I think he's pretty young. I don't know if he's a rookie or not, but he's young. I know that. And again, he played well, so you never know. But you also never know because he's playing against second string guys, and you don't know if that's just him above those second string guys, but not necessarily to an elite or starting level yet.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's hard to put stock into the preseason game, and when we get talking about Campbell later, I mean, there's so many things that can be looked at. A whole play could have went totally awry, that was a poorly specifically chosen to not necessarily be one that's going to succeed, but just to put one guy in a certain situation to see how he performs.
2-point conversion we went for.
Yeah, exactly. So it is hard when you're watching these games to really judge if the game went well or if the game went poorly or what was going on, because we don't know who Campbell was looking at or why. If certain things were poor play calling, or if certain things were really good play calling, or if he was just doing something just so he can put certain players into a particular situation to see how they perform and not care how the play plays out other than those guys.
We don't know if we lost that game 15-16 to the Bills. They kicked a field goal with like 20 seconds remaining in the game. And then with the whole Dan Campbell time management thing, they kicked it off to us. They kicked a squib kick, and we got at about the 40.
Mm-hmm.
And David Blau was sacked after a big play, and Dan Campbell didn't call a timeout.
Right. He just said that's game, and we're done, and we're down by 1 point. And there's a couple of things there.
I'm okay with that personally.
Mm-hmm.
But
I am too.
What
and
were you gonna say?
Oh, that's actually what the comment was in there. It said, "Did you catch? And what do you think about his late game decision?" I said, "I was totally fine with them." By the way, LOL.
Yeah.
So, and I agree, because do we want like tough gridiron last play just to go win a thing to get somebody injured? No, not necessarily.
Or do we want our team to live?
Right. So you don't necessarily. And what are you going to gain from that one play with the timeout? You're going to win a preseason game. That doesn't matter.
That's not even something for morale, will it really? Because your team's just going to think, wow, we got lucky with a big play at the end of the game, and we got a field goal to win it.
But and it's even fair to say, you could say you could come off of that and be like, oh, we lost the preseason game, if that matters to you, which it doesn't to me. But if it matters to you, we didn't really even necessarily lose it.
We went for 2 points after Craig Reynolds' 25-yard touchdown run that we wouldn't have gone for in a regular season game, and unless Dan Campbell isn't as smart as we think he is.
Well, no one would go for a 2-point conversion,
especially when you're trying to tie the game up in the second half.
So we know that 2-point conversion was just to put those guys into that situation, and to be able to look back at that. Of course, that wasn't the best decision, but he just wanted to watch his guys do the 2-point conversion to make analysis and do whatever else that a coach is going to do there.
In some games, you're going to have to go for a 2-point conversion at the end of the game, and he might have just wanted to see what plays would work down at goal line. He might have wanted to see a few other things.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing that people were talking about with Dan Campbell's time management. Was when he had David Blau throwing out routes to get out of bounds, and they'd stop the clock when we were in field goal range to win the game. And again, that might have just been it might have been a serious play call, but that might have just been to look at his receivers a bit more, because we have a lot of receivers fighting for that starting job right now.
Exactly. And we've had issues with time management in the past, but this isn't the time and place to be able to prove that we know how to do time management. That's going to happen in more than likely the first game.
Yeah.
But exactly what you said. What did we learn from that? If time management wasn't his concern and just doing the plays, whatever else, we found out Blau did not do horribly at all.
Blau was 5 of 6 for 73 yards.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So do we want to do time management there? Or do we just want to be able to see what our people are capable of doing? And Blau did not do bad. We had good passes, good route running, and everything else, and it's okay to not have to stress about running the clock if there's other things as a coach that you want to look at or are concerned about.
And I think Blau did better than Tim Boyle that game. I almost said Tim Tebow, but no.
Well, he did better than Tim Tebow too.
Yeah, Tim Tebow wasn't playing his best at that Lions-Bills game. He could have done better. But I just liked David Blau more, and honestly, it kind of reminds me of if the best scrambling quarterback and the best pocket quarterback in the league, their abilities were dimmed down quite a bit.
Right.
Like if you had Like, I feel like David Blau was more like Tom Brady, just staying in the pocket looking for somebody open. He wasn't really running around.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have Tim Boyle more like a Lamar Jackson, who can run around, who can avoid defenders and try and scramble for that first down.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously their skill level would be dimmed down a bit to reach that, but that's the play style I saw from those two.
It felt like from when they were playing Blau that their plan was for him at third string, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to move up
because of that game.
Yeah, ahead of Boyle because of that game. Because even Boyle at the practice that we went to wasn't that impressive there either. Blau did better at the scrimmage than at the practice, but he
at the game.
Yeah, at the preseason game. Than during the practice. But we just got a comment on there. Said Tebow got cut today, so the Lions can sign him.
At their quarterback position.
What was he? Was he a
He was
tight
a tight end on
tight
the
end?
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah. Did you see that block? Did you end up watching that?
Yeah. It was a podcast we were watching.
Oh, was
Both
it?
of us
I thought
watched
we were listening to it, and then we came and watched it later. But we watched it. Okay, so you did see that with me. Yeah, that. And yeah, that they were kind of going on about that. I don't know. I get we don't have to go off on Tim Tebow necessarily on this, but so
Justin Fields. This is a different preseason game, but Justin Fields had a strong performance in his Bears game against. I don't necessarily remember who. I'm trying to think of it now, but Justin Fields had a strong performance, and there were a few other players you could name. Trevor Lawrence wasn't as big as people expected him to be in his first start in the preseason game, but I just don't think you can put that much stress on a quarterback. Not that much stress, but I think you can't expect him to do all of this as a number one pick of the draft. I get he's a number one pick, but if you're betting your whole season on him, then your season's going to go poorly, even if he does well.
Right.
He did have a throw that was a big catch by Marvin Jones Jr., a former Lion, who was actually doing pretty well that game, which made me pretty happy because I liked Marvin Jones. I think he's underrated. But I'm probably going to go back to the Lions talk because this is a Detroit podcast.
Well, that's okay. And we will occasionally talk about – we actually talked about this beforehand, though. This is going to be Detroit Lions with some overall football talk, but mostly Detroit Lions. And it's going to be other Detroit sports, too, on occasion.
Like when Miguel Cabrera finally hits his 500th home run.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be brought up here. But we got a comment on here. It says, do you see a benefit from both first and second string quarterbacks having a similar play style? Would that make Goff Blau a better tandem?
Yes. Because I think if two quarterbacks have the same play style, like here's a better example. If two quarterbacks have a different play style, like say we put Tim Boyle at second string and had Goff at first string, say Goff would just stay inside the pocket and throw to his receivers wouldn't be expecting a long, drawn-out play.
Mm-hmm.
They'd just expect a potentially quick throw to them, and they'd be ready for a quick pass. But if you have Tim Boyle, who's going to run around trying to drag out the play as long as he can so that he can find somebody to get open, you're usually not going to have your receivers ready for that, and I think they're not going to be ready to have a continued play, and they're not going to know what to do because they're not used to that.
I actually agree with that, and that totally makes sense to me. I agree with that, and I think that's I think you articulated that probably better than I would have, but I do agree. No, I mean, the team is used to a certain play style. You know what I mean? So,
and they're likely, if we were to go to our second string quarterback, we likely would have the playbook change to revolve around him rather than have it change to revolve around what our team is used to.
Right.
Even though it's what our team is used to, your quarterback's going to be the most important part of your offensive play no matter what. You can't just run the ball every play, and you can't have a bad quarterback throwing the ball to your receivers.
Yep.
Or else the ball's going to be intercepted quite often.
So, let's see. We've kind of jumped around here a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about any of the third down stuff, offensive or defensive? I don't remember if you mentioned any of that
I
or
do
not.
kind of want to talk about Julian Okwara.
Okay.
And that he was playing throughout the whole game, which means that he was playing through the second quarter to the fourth, which means he was playing as second or third string.
Mhm.
I assume second string. I don't see Julian Okwara being a third string. He's pretty good. But I don't remember seeing him in the first quarter, and I don't know who was at his spot. It was likely Trey Flowers or his brother, Romeo Okwara.
Mhm.
But he made a big stop on a 3rd and short run up the middle that the Bills tried to get, where they would proceed to get a run up the middle on 4th down for a first. So that 3rd down didn't really mean much for a preseason game, but in that regular season game, it definitely meant a lot because it would have meant a lot because if you can get a stop on 3rd down, nobody's going to ever go for it on 4th down.
Mhm.
I don't care how short the distance is. I don't think anybody would go for it on 4th down from their own 35-yard line
Mhm.
or from their own 40 for that matter. I think for me, it's once you get to midfield and beyond that I would go for it on 4th.
Mhm.
Um,
Even if it's just inches.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's just inches, you might be able to do it from like your 45 or 40.
Mhm.
But even then, it's dangerous because if you don't get it,
They're
have
right there for a field goal.
one first down and you have a field goal.
Yep.
Or if you have Matt Prater, you're just going to kick the field goal after
Right.
3 incompletions.
Yeah, that's true.
Or Justin Tucker as well, I guess.
Was he? Oh yeah. Is he the one that had the competition with him last year about getting the longest field goal?
I don't know.
Does he play for Denver?
He is not.
Okay.
He plays for Baltimore.
Okay.
He's easily the best kicker in the league right now, though.
Mhm. Did you hear about the Matt Prater is going to be a big loss this year? Yes, I agree.
Matt Prater was missing a lot of field goals last year that he usually would have made. I'm not saying like the 50-yard ones either. I don't think I'd ever seen Matt Prater miss a PAT aside from this year, where he's missed a few of them that I remember. I'm just happy they didn't miss that one against the Falcons that won us the game. That made my day a lot better.
It was hard for me to. Last year was such a bizarre year, not having the fans and then the whole Matt Patricia, like at the peak of the, disgruntledness within there was a game we were watching and someone held up a sign that said "Fire Matt Patricia" or something like that. Do you remember that? Were you watching that with me? And one of the guys in the sidelines saw it and was like, "Yeah," you know what I mean? Like, I have no idea what was going on back there, but it's hard for me to put a whole lot of stock in much of anything last year because, we could have easily had a winning season. We were 3 plays away from.
We were 5-11, and we had an onside kick that I thought we got against the Packers, but they ruled it as out of bounds. But that doesn't necessarily mean we would have won that game. But we had DeAndre Swift. He dropped a pass in the end zone on the first game of the year against the Bears, who we would later beat in the year. That made me happy as well. Whenever the Lions beat a division rival, it makes me happy. We had
I think it makes any Lions fan happy.
a phantom roughing the passer call in our Vikings game when the Vikings were on goal line. Tracy Walker got a sack, and it would have been from the 10-yard line. They likely would have kicked a field goal, but refs called roughing the passer on him, and we barely lost that game. So we were close to having a 8-8 year.
Yep.
And that was with Matt Patricia at the beginning of the year. I remember, what was it, last year or 2 years ago that we started out like 2-1-1. And the only reason we were 2-1-1 was because our offensive coordinator called a timeout and Kerryon Johnson fumbled the ball.
That's right.
Of which the Chiefs took back for a touchdown. At the beginning of 2 years ago, honestly, I would have thought that Matt Patricia was the answer for the Lions because we almost started that year 4-0. And then we lost all 8 games after we lost Stafford.
We just got says 8-8 would have won the NFC East last year.
Our record would have almost won it.
What's that?
The NFC East.
Oh, the 5-11.
5-11.
5-11.
6-10 was the winning record for the NFC. People call it the NFC least.
The NFC least. All right, so looking at some of the stuff here, we talked about Okwara. There was third down offensive, Ragnow, Sewell.
There was the very first play of the game. I'm gonna go to that before we go to the third down.
Do you want me to bring up the pictures for that?
No, I'm just gonna talk about it. The pictures aren't necessarily needed, but
Okay.
with the very first play of the game, there was Jared Goff almost threw an interception, and people talked about that a lot. It was dropped by the defender, but on that play specifically, I guess you could bring up a picture of just the original screenshot, the not edited one.
Okay.
But on that play, Jared Goff has to
Keep up on the.
He's throwing it to the guy at the 30-yard line on the top of the screen. And he's trying to fit that throw into a very, very tight spot, which is where he is supposed to try and throw the ball on that concept. That's a stick concept, but I'm not going to explain it right now. That's too difficult to explain in 30 seconds. So, but in that concept, he has to throw the ball to the receiver's outside shoulder, which is quite a difficult pass to fit in, and he's going to have to make a perfect throw for that to work, because if he throws it too far outside, you're going to have the defender covering the flat there to make a play, and if he throws it too far inside, which he did, you're going to have the linebacker that's there make a play. And even if he makes a perfect pass, that's a difficult throw to catch.
Yeah.
And he does have a receiver open on the other side of the field at the other 30.
Which we have circled down there.
Yeah. I said it the other 30. They were all the way down the field wide open. Goff just missed them. But you see him at the 30 there, but Goff was already in his throwing motion. I don't think he would have been able to notice him even if he didn't throw that original pass as a lie, but I don't think he would have been able to notice him.
Mm-hmm.
And then on third down later that drive, Penei Sewell, people saying that Penei Sewell gave up a sack on that drive. Gregory Rousseau got the sack, but Jared Goff did kind of just fall down. And I don't think that this might just be me used to Stafford's playing and how he would step up in the pocket and stuff like that, but if you were to look at that play, you'd see Frank Ragnow snaps the ball and doesn't have anyone to block. He just snaps the ball and everyone's one-on-one blocked and everyone is trying to get to the outside of their blocker. So he has nobody to block, and he's just looking at the other way as one of the defensive tackles, Harrison Phillips, the Bills' defensive tackle, breaks through.
Went right behind Ragnow.
Yeah, right behind Ragnow, and was the main reason, in my opinion, that sack happened. Because if he wasn't there, Goff could have stepped up in the pocket, maybe ran.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he would have gotten a first down, but he could have at least ran for some yardage rather than being sacked, or thrown a pass while on the run, or just stepped up in the pocket and threw it.
Was there? We don't have that video on here, do we? That
No.
wasn't one that we grabbed. Okay.
What do you want to talk about?
Any of this stuff is fine with me. I just like hearing Utah. That's why I started this whole thing. Reason to sit down and listen to Noah talk about football a little bit, and I'll just throw my color commentary in on occasion and run the board here. So you were talking here when you said trying out the concept that didn't work. You're talking about the stick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So the last thing that we have on here is on our list of things or whatever was just Dan Campbell with the clock, which we already kind of talked about. What's that?
We have Craig Reynolds and Dedrick Mills.
That's
Mills.
right. Craig Reynolds.
Big 25-yard touchdown run.
It's funny. So we have a comment here that says preseason game 1 MVP with a question mark. So who?
Craig Reynolds.
Yeah, that's funny. We brought up Craig Reynolds right now, and that comment came in because that's.
For me, it would either be Craig Reynolds or Dedrick or Dedrick Mills, whatever you think, however you want to pronounce his name. Both running backs for the Lions, so that's a good thing to hear because you never hear that with Detroit. MVP running back of the team. I guess it would always be Stafford, but
They said Julian Okwara for them.
Julian Okwara, that's not a bad one either. He made a few big plays.
Reynolds for me was huge because here's what happened with Reynolds. He got signed that day. We were listening.
Previous night.
Yeah, the previous night. But he didn't show up until
that game.
I was watching.
He showed up first at that game, and Goff was like, I didn't know him before.
Right. We were watching that post-game interview with Goff, and they're like, so what do you think of him? He's like, well, he played great, but I'm still never met the guy. And everyone laughed. He's like, no, really, I literally have not even spoken to him before. For him to...
He was... He was introducing himself to people in the huddle. He'd get to the huddle and he'd just introduce himself and they'd go on with their game.
Yeah. And he came in and they were saying, and I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't remember exactly who it was or what they were saying, but for the most part, they were saying that he just came in and said, put me in. I'll figure it out, and I just want to go in and play.
He didn't even know what the playbook was. You hear Dan Campbell talking.
Exactly.
He didn't know what the playbook was. He didn't know what they were doing. But you just see him run into piles and pop out of them anyways.
Well, I got – and this is a huge inaccurate comparison.
Barry Sanders.
Yes, that 25-yard play. Did you see him – he was going one direction, and he stopped and started going the other direction, and I got a real Barry Sanders vibe from that. I'm not saying this guy is Barry Sanders.
He's definitely not Barry Sanders. He's a young guy. I don't remember where he came from. I know that he was signed by us yesterday.
Well, the day before the thing, but yeah.
Or day before the
preseason game.
But I do know that he played pretty well. He ran in on that 25-yard touchdown run. I just watched that over. We have the Craig Reynolds highlights, don't we?
Yeah, we can play those.
You could play the touchdown run to see what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, I'll play these, and then we can kind of talk about because I don't have the timestamps necessarily for those, but we'll hop over to these really quick.
I didn't put the timestamp in there.
You might have, but I don't have that centered right now for that. That's okay. Come over here to this mic real quick, and so you can see it if you want.
All right, I will.
Yeah. So we'll. Noah's going to be kind of in the background a little bit here, but I have a comment on there that says "slow your roll, host." So I don't think they're taking the Barry Sanders comments. But okay, so we'll go ahead and play.
I could probably go over to the other one. I remember what the touchdown was.
Detroit at midfield.
Yeah.
And slipping through.
Slip through there. Was it? Yeah. Did you see that?
Reynolds cuts it back. Craig Reynolds.
And this dive here. Yes, both of those. But look at how he
Cut back.
Yes, how he cut back. I got a real
His like floaty jump.
right there. It was right there. I got a real now, and like I said before, the slow your roll, host, or whatever else. I'm not saying this guy is Barry Sanders at all. I'm not even saying he's better than Swift or anyone else necessarily. I'm just saying this was shows Barry Sanders was. You can go if you want to go back to the mic there. Barry Sanders was very much he could improvise out on the field. He was very good at that. Like if the play where he was supposed to go wasn't working, he found a way to get 25 yards by doing a hop, spin, and a jump in the other direction.
Reminds me of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, but I liked seeing that. That's all. That this was clearly this guy's not Barry Sanders. If he turned out to be, that would be amazing. But
no Lions fan would complain if he turned out to be Barry Sanders.
But I mean, just
also
watch.
That would be the prediction of the century.
Yeah, he had no option but to improvise during this game. He had no option but to improvise. And watch this.
Every big play he had was made by him as well.
Mm-hmm.
None of them were.
Reynolds cuts it back.
And there are four guys chasing him at that.
Yeah.
Where you stopped right there.
I'm going to play this one more time. He's going to where the play's supposed to go.
I can see the play right now.
Oh, can you see it from there? Good. Okay, good.
That's right.
So he's going to where the play was supposed to go.
So stretch left.
And was not happening, and he found a way to he's at the 30-yard line right now. He found a way to make that a touchdown. Nope. Going to go this way, and then this dive in.
That was an amazing dive.
It was.
That reminded me of, I'm not sure if you've seen this, but the Taylor Heinicke dive into the end zone in the divisional playoff game. Taylor Heinicke was of the leaders of the NFC East. He was the quarterback of that team, and he just managed to improvise and found a way to dive from the 5-yard line into the end zone.
Now, this could have been a fluke, and if you have to rate a MVP for a preseason game, that's a hard thing to do because, like we said, this is such a bizarre scenario to try to really – but for me, that was cool. Him coming in out of nowhere, having a few really good runs, and having that run, which I think was amazing. So,
but the only thing that's about that is a lot of the Lions running backs did something like that, which makes me think that, well, it might not be that special. He might have just cut back and then found a little open hole. Because Dedrick Mills, again, I don't know. I'm just going to call him Dedrick.
Just commit to one until we find out that we're wrong, and we'll change it.
I like to be on both sides until the very end. But Dedrick Mills was fourth and 1. He gets a carry from the 40-yard line, gets it down to the 20, where he does the exact same thing. He gets the handoff and immediately has to improvise and immediately does so and gets a 20-yard gain out of it. So I think that's something the Bills are not good at doing. They're not ready for some guy to miss a tackle and them having to actually do their job.
Right. So is there anything that we missed that you wanted to talk about or touch on before we kind of get to the wrapping up part of the podcast here?
Specific players. We could talk about third downs in general. We were listening to that one show. What was it? The Ticket.
Oh, after the game on the way home in Detroit. Yeah, 97 won the Ticket.
Yeah, they were saying.
There's a little plug for you guys. So just got advertised to 4 people. 97 won. Anyway, go ahead.
I want to be paid, but they were talking. They had someone on there who was talking about how many times have you seen 3rd and 11 or 3rd and long, 3rd and 20, 4th and long, that the Lions just couldn't do anything on defense and couldn't stop them. But the Bills on 3rd down, that entire game on 3rd down, they were 3 of 12.
Okay, I guess I hadn't really. I didn't know that.
They only had a quarter of their first downs, and half of those stops, or not even half, that'd be like 3/4 of those stops were from pressures or a sack. And one of them being from the rookie who we were talking about earlier, Derek Barnes. Is it Derek Barnes? Forgot his name because there are so many names.
I have alphabet soup in my head right now for a lot of these players. I'm trying to get it all sorted out. But
another player who I actually might put as MVP of that game might have been David Blau. Honestly, 5 of 6 for 77 yards isn't that bad at all.
No, that's not. And that's actually what I put a note down here to talk about when you were done. I wanted to talk about Goff a little bit as far as
that drive.
When we were listening to 97-1,
they were saying
leaving Detroit that day, they were not.
They weren't impressed.
Yeah, they were tepid at best was their feeling towards Goff, and I don't. Yes, that first pass was not good. It was almost intercepted. Your analysis of that was that they were just trying something that clearly didn't work. But that's fine. But what did he go?
And then
7 for 9?
He went 7 for 9.
Yeah.
And his only other incompletion was just a shot down the field for a touchdown.
Right. It wasn't a bad showing, I don't think. And Campbell even said, and I don't think people were paying attention to that or thinking about that when they were making these comments. Campbell even said that for right now, basically, Goff is not going to be a long ball. That's not what we're doing with him. We're going to be running these short, we're going to be doing screens or whatever they're doing out there, just getting some passes and moving down the field. They weren't,
And another thing is, or keep going.
No, that's good. That's
I
fine.
can't remember.
Go ahead.
Okay. But on the second drive where we kicked a field goal to tie it up 3-3, Jared Goff probably would have had a first down on that if he wasn't trying to keep himself from being hurt. Because it was a preseason game, and he just scrambled and fell down after like 5 yards down to the 10.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if that was a regular season game, I could see him running that down to the 5 or getting a first down or making it a very manageable fourth down situation where we would go for it.
Yes, and that's another good point to bring in on the preseason games too. Is
preseason
what
so
what
much
do,
different from regular
what do you
season.
want out of a preseason game? Every coach's first answer is going to be no one gets hurt. And then they're going to talk about what they want to do beyond that. But their main concern is that they don't injure somebody before they have a chance to use them at all in a real game that actually matters, which I think plays into, okay, we're done at the end of the game and not calling a timeout and, doing that. And also, there were, the quarterbacks always cower a little bit when someone gets there, but Goff was overly...
Goff's a strong quarterback.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
My favorite thing about Goff is the fact that he broke his thumb in a divisional game against the Seahawks, I think. It was week 16 against the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
He went for a throw and hit it on someone's helmet and broke his thumb and popped it out of place, and he just popped it back into place and kept playing, kept throwing.
Yeah.
That was like, 2 quarters in?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a quarter in? But it's not like he's a weak quarterback. It's not like you would normally see him fall down like that.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
He's not strong. Stafford's definitely the strongest quarterback in the league, in my opinion. I think that's obvious.
You'd have to be able to survive for that long. Let's see. Stafford would be on the IR for 10 months. After breaking the thumb? One of my favorite,
after talking about how Stafford's strong.
Stafford's a tough guy. Well, he just followed up with just kidding, but one of my favorite to kind of go back in time here a little bit. I love watching that video of Stafford,
his separated shoulder, and he throws that pass for a touchdown.
Where he went back in,
Cleveland.
Where they had the mic on.
He was
him
like,
the
"I
whole
can
time.
throw one more pass, coach.
Yep, put me back in. I'm going to do it."
And it won the game.
Yeah, and then immediately after the pass,
it was, what was it? The year after we went 0-16 and drafted him, and we almost went 0-16 again, and that was like one of our few wins of the season.
Yep. But
another thing to show just how unimportant preseason can be, the year we went 0-16 in Detroit in 2008, our preseason we went 4-0 and won every single game of preseason. So
that's a very good point.
We were
too.
4-16.
No, 4-16, 4-20. We were 4-20 that year.
4-20?
Well, if you count the preseason and all of the games, how many did we win that year?
Preseason we won. That's what I was saying. So we were 4-16 that year in terms of record.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't really paid attention to preseason that much recently. This is the first preseason I've really been paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
But
so really quick, I think I've touched on everything that I wanted to, because I wanted to defend Goff a little bit, because I was upset when they were. I don't think someone who goes, what was it again, 7-9 that he went? I don't think someone who
53 yards or something like that.
I don't think someone who goes 7 of 9 is to say that he did a poor job at all. So I just wanted to be able to defend him a little bit.
What's that passing percentage? That's about 70%.
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit higher.
Yeah, it's a little bit higher than 70%.
Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with that. He didn't have any. It would have been nice if they could have connected down the field on that long one, but
that was just good coverage. That wasn't a bad throw. That wasn't a bad attempt at a catch. It was just good. Well, you could say it was a bad attempt at a catch. Any catch that's not caught is technically a bad attempt at a catch, but it's.
No, I got you. I agree.
It's a good throw, and it's not like it's a bad decision. It's one-on-one coverage with your deep threat one of your deep threat receivers downfield.
Right.
Lions have never had someone who just gets open. All of our receivers have just been go up and get it. Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola was the only one who was like a quick receiver who you could get it too fast, or just someone who would get at least slightly open. Something that neither of the other two could do.
But okay, well, I think that's going to be it as far as talking about the previous game. The only thing I wanted to ask you about before we wrap it up for today is what are you looking for this coming Friday? What do you want to see?
In terms of players, or
Who do you want to see in terms of players? We know we're not going to see Swift. I don't think.
Swift is planning. By the way, about that, Swift is planning on trying to get back to practice by next week. And it's just a minor injury. There's nothing major. He didn't tear an ACL or anything like that. Something that Saquon Barkley often does.
But so we know we're not going to be seeing him this weekend, but this week. But just asking, when you ask what do I mean? Who do you want to see? What do you want to see them do? I
want to see the running backs compete.
Do you? Okay.
I want to see evenly split carries between Craig Reynolds and.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think Reynolds is going to get a little bit more play time?
I think that Reynolds was our fourth string running back. I think he was like on our bench.
I agree.
And
that's what I mean. Do you
think he's moved up to third or fourth string? Oh, actually, he would have been like fifth string because you had Jamar Jefferson, Dedrick Mills, Jamal Williams, and DeAndre Swift. So I think he moved up to third or fourth string. I think that was a good performance by him. And as long as we don't have refs who penalize us for taunting by tossing the ball up in the air, then we should be good. But I mean, it looks like Craig Reynolds has been doing pretty well. I think what sucks is I think Jamar Jefferson fell down a bit on that little depth chart.
Yeah.
On the roster, I think he fell down to fifth string, which sucks because I want him to do well, but I don't think they're going to play him that much. I think we're going to see more Craig Reynolds and Dedrick Mills.
Well, hopefully. I want to see more of Reynolds, and I want to see. Wish I could have seen Goff play a little bit more. I understand that they don't.
Yeah, we got to the game late, so we didn't even really see Goff play.
Yeah, but
we watched
it later.
The first quarter just last night.
But I'm excited to see him a little bit more because I want to see, because the jury's still out on him. But I mean, I was happy with 7 of 9, but I want to see him play more because I'm really a little anxious and nervous about not having Stafford. So
Lions are never used to that. Don't have Stafford.
But I'm really excited about I really want to see more of Goff so the jury doesn't have to be out on him so much. I want to feel a little bit more confident about him, and I want to see Reynolds or just running backs, like you said, in general, because
I also want to see Tom Kennedy.
Okay.
He was a receiver. His name was called a lot. I don't know if that was just him like blown coverage by the Bills or not, but he had like 5 or 6 receptions, which isn't bad. And his name was called a lot, so I wonder how many quarters our starters are going to be playing. Usually it's every week you have more quarters played, so usually it's likely going to be a full half of starters.
That's what I was hoping for when I said I'd like to see more of Goff. I'd like to see more than just 2 drives with him.
It'd likely be a full half of starters, and then third game we might do 3 quarters or just a full half again.
So we got a comment in here. It says next preseason, Lions at Steelers Saturday. Only 3 preseason games this year, which I knew that. So maybe starters will play longer as it's the second to last preseason game. That's a good way to look at it. This is the second to last game, which has always been the way it works in the past. So, and that's what I'd like to see more of Goff, and I want to see if this Reynolds thing was a fluke or not.
I don't think 2 games is enough for that. I think we're gonna hit the regular season, and that's when I want to see Reynolds. I want to see Reynolds in the regular season rather than the preseason. Or if we do play Reynolds in the preseason, I want to see him playing when the Steelers starters are playing.
No, I agree. I agree with that too. So, but I guess that's all I got for this week. Unless you have something else you wanted to. One last thing you wanted to say before we wrap her up?
What are predictions for the next game and the Colts game? Or no, we'll do just Steelers.
Yeah, we're gonna do this weekly. So I can't make any predictions for a preseason game. Guess?
Yeah.
I think we're going to see. I don't know. We'll go 21-17.
Win or loss?
Win. You know me. We've done this already. It's always a win.
Yeah, but you've also predicted that Lions are going to go 17-0 this year.
I did not predict that. That was
no. You predicted they were going 16-1. Bad.
I did actually say 16-1, but that was a joke prediction. That was just a mess with Jeff.
I don't believe it was. I think you actually believe the Lions are going to go 16-1.
What I have said, and I have said this since
they're going to make playoffs.
Like
you think?
no, I don't.
They're
going to
do decent.
I think a lot of people are saying that the Lions, this is another low point for the Lions. We lost Stafford. We're in a rebuild, and no one's expecting, like, at best, people. And I'm saying right from the day when we found out we were trading Stafford for Goff.
Yeah.
Everyone
saying the team sucks now.
Yeah, and that we're not. It's not even going to be as good as it was in 2020. I have said from the very beginning that I think that we can have. I would not be surprised if we pulled off a winning season. I know that that's extremely optimistic, and everybody, including people in chat here, have disagreed with me. But I think I would not be surprised. Am I expecting a winning season? No, but I think we have the capability to pull it off.
The Lions are a weird team because they're always going to have that one confusing game that they somehow win, like the Jets when they somehow beat the Rams after losing every game previous to that, or the Jaguars with they won their first game of the season last year and then literally lost out.
Mm-hmm.
They went 0-15 in their last 15 games of the season.
Right.
But the Lions, it's weird because they have the potential to win any game. They always have. They've always had the potential to win any game. It's just the odds of them winning that game.
Well, that falls for any team with everything. But I just think we had a lot of games last year that were very close. We always do. We always have, and other teams probably have this too. But we have some officiating. We have some officiating issues that really screw us over sometimes. We literally have NFL rules that are written because of some janky thing that happened in a game with us, with Calvin Johnson and stuff like that.
With the Rams and Saints as well in the NFC Championship game of 2018.
Yeah, exactly. So there's I think they will be better than predicted, but I'm not as optimistic as you. Okay, so that was a comment in there on that. Now, like I said, I'm not saying that. I think we're saying the same thing. I don't think that we're going to be.
You think they'll do better than?
I think we're going to surprise people, and I've been saying this since I got over my heartbreak of losing Stafford, which took about a week.
2 days.
Yeah, it took a few days, but after that, and I really started looking at things and looking at the draft picks and getting to know Campbell a little bit. Not that I've went out and had coffee with him, but I do like him. And I'm cautiously optimistic, and I think we will do better than what people are predicting, and I think that we have the ability to have a winning season this year. Will it happen? No, I'm not expecting it, but I wouldn't be surprised. So and slowly I see articles on Sports Illustrated and ESPN and stuff like that.
You're starting to see.
Yeah, people are starting to come around to what I've been saying for a few months. So I wish we had started this podcast, 4 months ago, so it could be on record that I've been saying this from the beginning. But so anyways, and then there's another comment here that says Lions defense can only go up. So
that's debatable.
You think it can get worse?
I think it could get worse if our whole team gets injured.
Well, yeah, of course.
There's always that one team that everybody on the team gets injured. Last year it was the 49ers, who went from a Super Bowl to not even making the playoffs.
Mhm.
And the Bears made the playoffs, so that's really saying something that they
Right.
didn't make the playoffs. If you think the Lions are bad, the Lions beat the Bears, and they almost swept the Bears in our 2 divisional games,
Mhm.
and they made the playoffs.
He said, well, yeah, if they only suit one guy up.
They have one guy. They're going to pull a Matt Patricia and just put 10 guys out there on defense.
Yeah, our defense can definitely be 0.9% better, or what was it? No, like 9% better just by having all of the guys out on the field. So
That's something Matt Patricia couldn't do.
But anyways,
Matt
so
Patricia was just OCD. He had to have 10 people on the field. Couldn't be 11.
couldn't handle an 11. So, all right, well, I think we're going to wrap it up for now. Noah, thank you. Had a good time. Hopefully we can do this more. We're going to try to make this at least a once-a-week thing.
Like every game.
Yeah, like every game. Well, just once a week, talk about what happened and talk about what we hope is going to happen coming up. And we'll have different guests on here on occasion. Yeah, so thank you, everybody. Right now, this is just on Twitch. Eventually, I'm going to throw stuff up on YouTube. Eventually, we'll be on an actual podcast that you'll be able to find on iTunes and your favorite podcasting app. I don't have it there yet, but this podcast specifically will get there too when I get it there. So hopefully in about a week or so for the few people that are watching. For everyone that is watching, thank you for coming by. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Feel free to follow the channel, get notified when we do this. We'll eventually hopefully get on a regular schedule, but it's going to be kind of when we can do it for a while here. But so, all right. Any parting words, Noah, before we go?
Lions are going 0-17.
Why would you say that? It's the most horrible thing that you could say. I'm kicking you off the show. You're no longer on the show.
At one episode, and at the end of it, I said one sentence that got me removed from it forever.
That's right. You've been permanently banned.
Can't even watch the show. Can't comment on it.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Say goodbye.
See ya.